Hello, Golden Valley Knights. Welcome back. Today we are doing something just a little different. Today we're going through solving simple equations. Today is a guided practice where I'm not always going to be giving you all of the answers. We're going to throw it on an Edpuzzle where you'll have to take a guess at what the answer is before we move on. You're going to notice, first and foremost, again, I am back on a regular sheet of paper, and you know how I like me a good old diamond fold, so of course I folded my paper into a diamond shape. If you don't know how to fold your paper into a diamond shape, or to fold your paper into a diamond fold, just fold it into fours because we're only going to go over 4 example problems. As you go along this week, you're going to really want to try to do these in your head, and I cannot say this enough, but please do not go over it, write it down. Even if you have a little whiteboard at home or something, please do write it down. That will ensure that you're doing these correctly. So, either on a whiteboard if you have one at home for some reason, or on a sheet of paper, anything really that you can write on is going to be very useful during this time. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to call this one number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 for the sake of what we're doing. And yeah, I don't know. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so looking at number 1, we have a couple of steps. Your first step is that you want to draw your wall. So all we want to do is just draw a nice little line that separates the left side and right side of your equation here. Step number 2 is that you're going to want to circle your variable. You just want to say, hey, here's my variable, here it is, and ask yourself, is it or is it not isolated or by itself? So for us, our equation 17 plus x is equal to 30. Here's our variable, and no, it is not by itself, so we have some work to do. Step number 3, we're going to go ahead and write our DC man, and we're going to use those steps to guide us from here. You're going to notice that I already have mine written down on all 4 problems. And then the second thing you're going to notice is that for this example number 1, you're going to notice that this looks a little weird. Something feels a little off. Well, that's because when we have our equations written, usually this guy right here, your letter, well, that comes first usually, and then everything else comes after that. So what I want you to do, us to do first, is to rewrite it. And all we have to do is just make sure everything that belongs together stays in the same with each other. So here, I'm going to write my x first, and that's positive because of that sign right there. But I don't have to write the positive, so I'm not going to. And then the 17 is going to go after it, but funny thing, there's no sign in front of there. What is the sign of the 17? Yep, you're right. It is positive. So we have x plus 17, and that is the same thing as 17 plus x. And that is equal to 30. 30 stays the same. All right, now that we rewrote our problem, here is our variable. Let me use a different color really quickly. There it is. No, it is still not by itself, so we got some work to do. We know in the 7th grade that we do not have to distribute, combine, or move. We're really focusing on these last 2 operations. We're either going to add, subtract first, or we're going to multiply, divide. So it all depends on what you see. Well, here I see an addition sign right there. There's an addition sign. So we're actually going to be going through that first. And what are they adding? They're adding 17. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be doing the inverse operation, which is subtracting 17. I'm going to put it right below, so minus 17. And what you do to one side, yep, you do it to the other. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 17 from both sides. 17 minus 17, well, that's going to give me a 0. Bring down what you have left on your left side, which is just x. Notice that we're not writing that 0 You can, but that just gets a little too confusing, so don't write it down. Bring down your equal sign, and then over here we just have a very basic 30 minus 17. We don't have to use CSAs on that. But what we do have to do, we cannot take away 17 from 0, or 7 from 0. So we're going to have to regroup. I'm going to go ahead and borrow a 1 from the 30, add it to the 0, so that becomes a 10. So we have 10 minus 7, or 10 take away 7, which is 3. 2 take away 1, which is 1. So our answer is x is equal to 13. And since our variable is by itself, our answer is 13. I don't have any space really to check my answers for today, so I'm just going to leave that step out. If you want to practice checking your answers, I do recommend it. Here we could do it really quickly. Instead of x, we would have 13. 13 plus 17. Well, 13 plus 17. Oh, shoot. No, not wrong thing there. 17 plus 13. 7 plus 3 is 10. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. And 30 does equal your 30, so we are correct. But again, I'm not going to be doing that too often today because I don't have too much room for the checking part. All right, that's example number 1. Example number 2. We're going to go ahead and notice just a couple of things. First thing is that, again, I wrote my DC man. I'm going to go ahead and draw my wall. Circle my variable. My variable is x. And the thing that I'm going to notice, one, is that it is on the correct side. My x is on the left, so there's nothing weird about that. But that little bar right there, that thing's a little weird. I'm not quite sure what that is. What is it? Yeah, you're right. That means division. So there's nothing too bad about that. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So let me see. Step 1, draw my wall. Step 2, circle my variable. Step 3, write my DC man. But we get to cross out the D, C, and the M. Now, all I have to do is look. Let's see, do I have any addition or subtraction? No, I don't see any addition signs. I don't see any subtraction signs. Do I have any multiplication or division? Yeah, I do. Since that fraction bar does mean division, I see that there is division. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be doing the inverse operation, which is to multiply. I see that I am dividing by 4. So what I'm going to have to do is multiply by 4. This is where it looks a little weird. We're not going to be using the x or the dot to mean multiplication because, that's a little hard to see. We can't use the x because I already have an x, dot, hard to see. So we're going to use is parentheses. So I'm going to put parentheses around what I'm going to be multiplying. I'm going to be multiplying this guy by something. And since I was dividing by 4, I have to do the inverse operation, which is multiplying by the same number, which is that number 4. So I'm going to end up multiplying both sides by 4, because what you do to one side, you do to the other. So I'll go ahead and multiply this side by 4. 4 divided by 4, that again gives you 1. So I'm just left with x on this side is equal to, and well, this is your time to shine. What do you get x being equal to? You're right. The answer was a negative 40. Negative 40 because 10 times 4 is 40. And if we used our dead man, that does give us a negative. 10 is negative, 4 is positive, left with a negative. Our answer is negative 40. Great job. Example number 3. My first step is to draw my wall. Oh, well, I want to change my color. So let's do that again. Draw my wall. second step is to circle my variable. My variable is r. There it is. And uh-oh, I see something really weird with this. My variable is no longer on the left like it usually was. Now it's on the right. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do is rewrite my equation yet again. All I'm going to do for this one, really easy to rewrite, move all of this over here, move this over there. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to have, actually I'm going to have to erase my wall. I'm going to be too close. So I'm going to have r minus 12 is equal to 39. And there's my variable on the left, rewritten correctly, and there's my line. So now that my variable is on the correct side, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Drew my wall, circle my variable, there's my DC man. I'm not going to be distributing, combining, or moving. So now I have these last two steps to keep in mind. And well, since we've done a couple of example problems like this, I have to ask, what do you see? What operation is there? Yeah, you're right. It's subtraction. So what we need to do is the inverse operation, which is what? You're right. It's addition. So what we see is that they're subtracting 12. So then what I have to do is to add what? Yeah, we're going to have to add 12. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. Negative 12 plus 12, well, that gives me 0. Bring down my r, so I get r is equal to, well, over on that side, I do not have any positive, or I don't have any negatives, so it's just straight addition. So what's my answer? 9 plus 2, that's going to go ahead and give me 11. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So my answer is r equals 51. And since my variable is isolated, I am done. Well, this last one is for you to do. What do you get as your answer? You should get y is equal to a negative 6. And here's why. I'm going to go ahead, draw my wall, circle my variable is y, and then use my DC man. Don't have to distribute, combine, or move. I have my number right next to my variable, which means I need to, yes, multiply. So there is no addition or subtraction signs, but there is multiplication. What do I see they're multiplying by? I see that they're multiplying by negative 9. So I'm going to have to do the opposite of that, which is going to be divide by negative 9. And again, what we're going to use is our fraction bar to mean division. I'm going to divide by negative 9. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. Negative 9 divided by negative 9 is 1. So I'm just left with y. Usually I write in blue, so I guess I'll keep it consistent. Y is equal to 54 divided by 9 is 6. Use my dead man. 54 is positive, 9 is negative, so my answer is negative. That matches, which means I'm correct. Well, you guys worked really hard today. Here's our 4 example problems. So now all that's left is to practice. If you're still kind of lost, we are here for you guys. We're here to answer questions if you have them. We have live sessions on Tuesday and Thursday and always available for you on email. Again, if you are lost, if you need help, ask for it. Don't get frustrated, just ask for help. We are here for you. And I think that's all for me. So, another day done. Miss P out. Have a good day, Knights.